Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Today, got a first impressions video for you. We're going to take a look at the contents of this bag. Let's take it out whilst we're on the camera here, hopefully without dropping it too much. It's just in a little plastic wrapper as well. So this is a Jinhao 51. I actually quite like this colour. Hopefully that'll come over on the camera. What we're going to do is take a look at the pen, walk through the body, do some size comparisons, a writing sample, and then I'll give you my thoughts about this pen. Here we are down on the table. We've got here the Jinhao 51a. Quite a pretty looking pen, isn't it? Very reminiscent of maybe something like the Parker 51. You wonder where it gets its name from. Let's take a walk through the body. So we start up here at the top. Here we've got a dome. Feels like it's coming to a little bit of a point. I'm not sure if this is part of the cap itself or if it's a separate disc that's just added on. If we come down to actually look at the cap, so the top of the cap we've got this polished silver type of colour, so I think it's some kind of metal there. The clip appears to be attached to that. The clip, a bit like a sword shape, but then we've got this quite large ball down on the bottom of it. Nice and springy there. Should go quite easily over any material if you want to put it into a pen case or into your pocket. Carrying on with the cap, it tapers up fairly sharply till we get to maybe a third of the way down the cap. Then it seems to be one width all the way down to the bottom. The bottom, we've got the word Jinhao. Is there anything on the back? Yep, there we've got 51a, so we've got the model number. The cap, it's actually quite a sharp drop off. Now, sharp as in, yes, it seems to go down quite a bit, a couple of millimeters, but also where I'm rubbing my finger between the body and the cap, that actually feels a bit sharp there as well. So something to be aware of. We come into the body. The body, same width, all the way down, get to maybe 3/4 of the way down, shall we say. Then we taper in until we get a dome there at the end in that acrylic. I love this acrylic. Just look at this as I turn it around. We've got blacks, we've got whites, we've got different shades of blue, got a bit of chatoyancy there. Quite pretty to look at, isn't it? The cap pulls off. That shows us a little bit more of that acrylic there. We come down, we've got a silver band, then we've got the black section. And that leads us to this hooded nib. I think this is only my second hooded nib pen. The Winsun 601, I believe that's my other one. That might be something, I'll make a note of that now, because that could be something worth doing a showdown against. The section unscrews to reveal the converter. Now, I have cheated a bit. Normally, I don't ink my pens up, I actually do it on the camera. But because this came in just that plastic packaging, which I've already taken off, I thought I'm going to take advantage of it. I cleaned the pen out then, just with some clean water, give it all a good flush inside the converter as well. Then I filled it with ink. Now, again, the reason for me doing this all off camera, I actually filled this with a blunt nose syringe, and it's used the last of my sample of Robert Oster Australian Sky Blue. So I thought, let's do that. Let's give it all a chance to flow through. I haven't written with this pen yet, so in that terms, the rest of this will be first impressions. Fairly light feeling pen as well. Let me just pop the cap on. I would say, and I'm not going to weigh it today, I'd almost say the cap weighs as much as the body. Let's swap over the view and we'll take a look at some size comparisons. Here's my pens for my size comparison, my two standard pens, Pilot Metropolitan, Lamy Safari. Let's be honest, they all look very much of a similar size, don't they? Let's look at these unposted. Here's the pens unposted. Again, very, very similar in terms of size and width. The nibs, that's what sets them apart. We've got the Pilot number 5 nib there on the Metropolitan. We've got this hooded nib here on the Jinhao. Then we've got that standard Lamy nib there over on the Safari. Let's post these. Posted, the Jinhao 51. It's now slightly smaller than the Metropolitan and an awful lot smaller than the Safari. Now it does post quite nicely. You know, look at this. I can shake it. I can bounce it about. I can tap it on the bottom. Doesn't come off. Doesn't actually feel too back heavy. Feels quite nice in my hand. My only worry is because we're going straight onto this acrylic, if I post it, I'm going to end up scratching this acrylic. And unposted, yeah, it seems a nice sizable pen. Bit on the light side, but I could live with that. Let's swap over and fetch in the notepad of testing. Here we've got the notepad of testing. This is a black and red notebook, uses Oxford optic paper, and this is in an A5 size. Let's do some writing. So we'll fetch in the pen. I'm going to use it unposted. So we've got here a Jinhao 51a. I believe the nib is a fine. This cost a whopping $8. I think it was $7.86. So I like to round up. So $8. And that's Aussie dollars. The ink, it's by Robert Oster. And it's Australian sky blue. As I say, this was a sample that I wanted to use up, and glad I did. It's one less sample sat in my pot. But I've got to be honest, it doesn't really match, so it's not a matchy match. And I think for the fineness of this nib, I think this ink is a bit too light. I need a darker ink. Maybe something like Diamine Oxford Blue might look nice in here. Drying times, so we go immediate. 10 seconds. It's dry there after 10 seconds. Now, two things to bear in mind. The first one, we're in the middle of summer here. My paper dries an awful lot quicker. So I find that with all my inks, they dry a lot faster. So it could be slightly wetter, but certainly seems fairly dry even then. Most pens, they make it to 30 seconds before they actually go dry. The other one, this ink, it's been in the pen a few days sat there. Little secret, I actually film my face videos about 5 days before I do my overhead videos. So I was able to fill it and just leave it sitting there. So I know we've got a good amount of ink being able to flow through. So it does look like it could be a fairly dry combo. Let's write a sentence. That's scratchy. It's nice. It's not unpleasant. And for a fine nib, it's the sort of scratchiness I would expect. I do have smoother nibs that are fine. I'm thinking here like the Moonman or the Mahjong A1. That's very, very smooth. This one's quite nice. It's actually quite pleasant. The pen itself does feel a bit on the light side. I'm going to try doing the next couple of tests with it posted to see how it feels. So we go for line variation. That's with no pressure. This is with some pressure. Next to no difference. Line across. And then. So no pressure, with pressure, none, with. Not seeing any difference there. The nib feels very, very stiff. It feels like I'm writing with a nail. Let's go for my flow test. Keeps up all right, goes all the way across the page. With it posted, I've got to be honest, it does feel a little bit better. And I think given that the pen only cost $8, I might use this one posted. Now, one of the things I have noticed, this is the pen here. Because most of my pens, the caps screw off, I do come and instead of pulling it, I do start to screw off. Then I realise and pull it off. But what I'm doing there is unscrewing the body from the section, so I have to make sure I tighten that up. Just something to be in mind if you're like me and you're a little bit on the forgetful side. The pen is nice. It's all right. I mean, it's $8. What do you expect for $8? Bit on the light side, but when it's posted with that cap still on there, actually doesn't feel too bad. Doesn't feel back heavy, just feels like it's a nice weight. Very fine line, very stiff nib. Again, it's what I expect, so I'm not overly surprised. Not sure, as I say, that this ink is the right one. I'm going to use it all up. It might grow on me, but given that I've used up my sample, I don't have any more. What I may try, as I said, is something like Diamine Oxford Blue, which is a nice darker blue, or maybe even Diamine Sapphire Blue might be a better match. But I think a darker ink would perform better. But that's just my personal opinion. And this is the beauty of this fountain pen channel. I want to explore not just my opinion, but your opinions. So if you've got some opinions on this, go on, drop down a comment. Let me know what you think. What inks would you think would look nice with this? One of the things I want to do is get conversations going. Overall, quite enjoyed this first impressions of this. You know, it's nice. I'm actually a little bit excited to use this. I do think it could be a nice pen to try and play around with. So it's my first impressions of the Jinhao 51a with Robert Oster Australian Sky Blue. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Have you got one of these pens? What colour have you got it in? I love the hooded nib on this. I think it looks quite nice. Please drop any comments down below. Let's kickstart the conversation. Please hit the thumbs up button every time you like, every time you comment. Just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.